With the release of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, it's time to dive in and rank all 13 mainline Spider-Man characters throughout the first 2 films in the Spider-Verse. Now, with that said, this will not include Tobey, Andrew, or Tom. It's kind of weird that I'm wearing a shirt with them on it. And as well as it won't also include a lot of the cameos or per se a lot of characters that you see that may just have one line or as a nice little Easter egg. These are just the 13 main Spider-Man characters that have gotten character posters, have gotten a little bit more to do. And in general, this will of course get updated once Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out next March. But without further ado, let's get into this. Coming up first is my number 13, Byte. Now, I actually really like the design of this character and how she looks. The problem with this is, for me, there's just not much of her in Across the Spider-Verse. I think, again, you see really cool animation with her. She's kind of this techie person who's the one sending a lot of certain things back to different dimensions. I'm not trying to get into too spoilery thoughts on that, but Byte's cool. There's just not enough of her, to be honest. My number 12 is Penni Parker. Now, Penni, for me, is a really cool, interesting character, specifically when we see her into the Spider-Verse. She doesn't really show up in Across the Spider-Verse, so we only really have the first film to go off of. And while I do like the design, the spider robot, and in general, the anime style that they have with her, I've always just wanted a little bit more from her. And I will say there is always, of course, going to be a biasness to some of these characters, specifically with which ones I grew up with in the comics and which ones I didn't grow up with. And Penni Parker, I didn't even know was a thing until I'd seen Into the Spider-Verse. My number 11 is Peter Parker, or just in general, Chris Pine's character from the original Spider-Man movie. Now, he's so low on this list just for the sake of that we didn't get a lot of time with him. He basically is the perfect embodiment of what Spider-Man should be. And in reality, he probably should be a little bit higher on this list. For me, though, he didn't have a lot to do. He was there to push Miles into the direction that he needed to be, and then we got a new Peter Parker in that same movie that, in general, had a better character arc than this one did as well. I like what this one stood for, I like what it was going for, and in general, it was pretty emotional when he died. My number 10 is Scarlet Spider. Now, this, for me, is total biasness. If I could honestly think of reasons to put him up higher on this list, I would have, but I had to be at least reasonable for me. In reality, some of you guys might have Scarlet Spider a little bit lower on this list since he doesn't really do all too much in the brand new movie. I imagine that maybe we'll see more of him later down the road, but for me, I've always loved the Scarlet Spider. I love Ben Reilly's character. I also love that they got Andy Samberg to voice him. That's just awesome. He's like this beautiful himbo that's just absolutely stupid, but has all these nice little quirks to him. And of course, for me, Scarlet Spider does have one of the coolest animations as well as one of the coolest suits in all of the Spider-Verse films that we've seen so far, and in general just the Spider-Man movies. So I really like Scarlet Spider, but some of you guys will probably have this one lower on your list. Number 9, JessicDrew. Now, I actually really liked this character. I was a little bit hesitant going in here, specifically with how they gave her the motorcycle and just in general this design of the suit, but I did like that Issa Rae was going to be voicing her. And overall, in the end of the day, I think JessicDrew is actually one of the bigger standout characters in this movie, specifically with how she moves around, how she uses the motorcycle to her abilities, and really much this whole entire capability of being a mother as well, because she's pregnant while doing all this. Shout out to her. Happy Mother's Day, or only happy belated Mother's Day. I found that what Issa gave to the role was actually really important, and specifically gave a lot of development more to her, and you could see the struggles that she has with how she's fighting back, you know, wanting to side with Spider-Man 2099, but also kind of understanding where Gwen Stacy's coming from and some of the other Spider people in this. Again, I gotta be a little bit vague on certain things because I don't want to spoil too much in this movie already, but I do think Issa Rae is awesome in this role, and I think JessicDrew is actually a big standout. My number 8 is Spider-Ham. For me, Spider-Ham is just one of those characters that pops in here and gives you absolute delight, and a lot of that is because of John Mulaney's voice performance. I cannot believe how great he was in here, and truly enough, I think he deserves a lot of other aspects when it comes down to him as a character. Again, him as a voice actor really steals the show. I think he was also in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and if I can remember precisely which character he was awesome in there. And what that really does show is his relevance and, of course, extraordinariness when it comes down to voice performing, and Spider-Ham is great. Like, just all the little lines that he has, it just makes you smile.
Got a problem with cartoons?
My number 7 is Spiderman India, voiced by Karen Soni, who of course many of you guys know as Dopinder from Deadpool. Now, honestly, Spiderman India has this amazing vibe to it. First off, the animation is absolutely stunning. I love how it looks like with this kind of like artistic graphite. I don't really know how to say it. It looks like kind of like chalk at times, but I also love how Karen Sony plays this character because he is a very cocky Spider-Man. And seeing how he moves around, how he uses the bangles, and in general uses the culture around him adds so much to this character. But really much how he works alongside Gwen Stacy, Miles Morales. I think the entire concept of what this character is about really just works. His personality was a big reason for why I had to put him up higher on this list. Now we're getting up to my number 6, but before I give you guys my number 6, I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts and give you guys a reminder to make sure to leave your thoughts down below, as well as hit that like and subscribe button, because we actually are going to be doing a Spider-Man movie ranking tomorrow, and if you're watching this video the day after it's premiered on Friday, the week of release of Across the Spider-Verse, then that means that ranking of Spider-Man movies is probably already out, and I definitely can't wait to get your guys' thoughts on that video as well. So make sure to go check that out as well. Thank you so much again for watching. Let's get back to the video. My number 6 now is Spider-Man Noir. Flat out, it's Nicolas Cage. He's got to be above at least the top 7 in here, and specifically, while Noir does not get a ton of development, and he really isn't in this brand new movie, it's Nicolas Cage. They're saving him for the next one. The way that he plays this character just absolutely oozes with charisma and charm. And I love like just the small little lines that kind of stick in my head when I think about Spider-Man Noir, is like when he's holding the little match and he's like, I like to feel something when the fire gets close to my fingers, or however he says the line. I'll put it up right here.
I just burned down to my fingertips just to feel something, anything.
Oh. Moment in particular is one of the moments that plays consistently throughout my head when I think of this character. And he's also just pretty badass. I love the black and white aesthetic. I like the Nazi fighting type of style. And I love, again, that noir style. It fits for it. The animation's stunning. And again, it's Nicolas Cage. Now, my number 5 is Spider-Punk. Now, I'm going to be honest. Every time I've ever seen an iteration of Spider-Punk or the suit, I haven't necessarily been the biggest fan of it. I've always wanted to be, but I've just kind of always rolled my eyes at it. This is the first time where I've seen this version of the character or the costume and gone, that's actually really freaking cool. And a lot of that goes down to Daniel Kaluuya's performance and how he plays off of him, but it kind of reminds me of like watching like old school British propaganda type videos, and you know, when you're in school, and the animation that they actually used for him, they said that took 2 to 3 years to develop. And I can see why. Every time this guy moves, something shifts on him, something moves on him. And it's like one of the most unique things that you could possibly see, and also one of the coolest aspects, because I did not expect it to be like that. And again, Daniel Kaluuya plays it with just like wicked charm that you just want like more of Spider-Punk. But I kept just going like, this character's badass. I love his power set. I love how he moves around. I love the animation on him. And again, I love how Kaluuya played him. He instantly made a top spot on here, and I can't wait to see more of him. Now, my number 4 is Spider-Man 2099. Now, for people who don't know, Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara, is actually one of my favorite Spider-Mans, probably top 3. But in the context of the movies and what information we have gotten, I didn't think 2099 was too much in this film, and I actually think that I'm hoping in the next film he actually gets bumped up on this list. But 2099 for me was every little aspect that of a tease and fun aspect that you get, that what the trailer was promising. And some of that is Oscar Isaac's determination and how he plays this character. And again, if we ever get live action world that we get to see them, I hope we get to see Oscar Isaac play him. I also just love the design, and I love how he's kind of like very much like half vampire, half like tech spider person. It's awesome. It's badass. But again, his determination is a big thing, because Miguel O'Hara is that type of character that would sacrifice an entire planet of people to save like 10 other planets of people. Like, he understands, and his ideologies and the battle that he kind of has in here against other people, like specifically Miles Morales, is one of the most unique things that I've seen in a comic book film, and specifically when you see a battling of ideologies. And again, 2099 would be higher on this list if we got more of him. He's in the film for at least 30 minutes, but per se, the other top characters have a little bit more screen time throughout both films and do get a little bit more development. This is just an introduction to Miguel O'Hara for a lot of new viewers, and I think for me, 2099 is a major standout, and I can't wait to see more of him in the future. My number 3 is Peter B. Parker, who for me, I think easily deserves this standout spot, while in the new film he's really much just a father, and he has a nice little moment with Miles Morales. He's also not one of the most main characters, but I think they're definitely saving him for Beyond the Spider-Verse, and this is very much a part 1 of movies. But if you look at the first Spider-Verse film, he got the most development. He was a down-on-his-luck Spider-Man who really much lost his entire life. He was poor. He didn't have Mary Jane anymore. And the biggest reason why he didn't have MJ is because he just didn't want to have kids. He pushed her away. And I think what's awesome is that you get to see how Miles kind of showcases him what it means to be kind of a father, and that it's okay to have a son or a daughter. And at the same time, like, he's also being a mentor to Miles Morales. So in realistic aspects, they are mentoring each other in that first film. And the way that it plays off in this one, the way that it all comes about is one of the sweetest, and like, honestly, like, it really just comes to fruition in such a touching and beautiful manner. And I was really taken back by how Peter B. Parker really worked in this new film, but specifically that first film. Jake Johnson, I think, is a revelation. And, you know, if he was a little bit younger, I actually think he could do a live action Peter Parker, and I would absolutely love it. Now, my number 2 is Gwen Stacey, or Gwanda, or whatever you want to say it. I absolutely love, first off, Hailee Steinfeld in this role. I think Gwen Stacey is such a big standout, and specifically, while the first film, I thought she was a little bit one-dimensional, like, you love her because of her style, her art style, her badassness, and everything that she's doing. It's this new film that really develops her. As much as this film is Miles' movie, it is also Gwanda's, or Gwen Stacy's, movie. And you see that because really much the first 20 minutes of this film is her story. You get to see, like, the opening of, like, kind of like, you know how the original film kind of played through her story pretty fast and what her origin story was? This one actually shows you that, and then showcases what happened when she went back after meeting Miles. And I think for me, that was a very important manner. And it's, in a way, it's a very much a cold opening to everything. And I was actually really shocked by how they handled that. And overall, it was really touching, and it was really beautiful. Specifically, Hailee Steinfeld's sincerity in that role was honestly one of the best things that I've seen in a long time, and I can't wait to see what they do with her next in the next film. But my number 1 is Miles Morales. I think for me, this is, again, through and throughout his entire story in the first or the second film, and it'll probably be the same thing in the third movie. And I think for me, what Shameik Moore has actually brought to this character is some of the best aspects of the Spider-Man world, whether it's comic, games, TV, movies, it doesn't matter. Shameik Moore absolutely has embodied Miles Morales, and I really do love what they've been able to do with it. I love the suit, I love the powers, but I also love that Miles is always continuing to learn. And what we learn in this movie, again, not trying to get into spoilers, because I know a lot of you guys probably haven't seen the new movie yet, but we learn how Miles may be feeling a little bit self-conscious with what he's doing. As awesome as he is as being Spider-Man by himself in his own world, he still feels like he's a mistake at times. He still feels like he's making mistakes. And if you've ever been that type of person to feel that way, this movie gets you emotional and tugs at those heartstrings. And again, I was honestly taken back by that, and I wasn't expecting to get as emotionally enwrapped as I did within this new film. I thought this film was going to be kind of like, oh, all action, then the next one will be the big emotional core, but this one does actually tug at the heartstrings while at the same time giving you that action. And he's awesome in that entire spider chase sequence that you see in the trailers, but also into the very first Into the Spider-Verse, the whole leap of faith, everything that builds up in Miles' character. It's beautiful, it's touching, it's everything I could want. And that's my ranking of all the mainline Spider-Man characters in the Spider-Verse films. Make sure to leave your thoughts down below, hit that like and subscribe button for more, and of course, until next time, stay classy.